Daf Chof Beis Amud Aleph, 7 lines from the top. Umishalim, the sign of Elpanav Lahavidai, the Rebbeinu Shalom, he pays those who hate him. Elpanav. So literally the pasuk is Mishalim's the sign of Elpanav, those that hate him to his face, to destroy him. So he repays those that hate him to his face to destroy him. The Gemara is going to dash in Mishalim the sign of. It's Mishalim, he repays those who hate him, Alponov, he repays him as a repayment, a debt that he has on his, on the Kivyachal, on the Rebbeinu Shalom's face. What does it mean? If the Pasuk hadn't said it, we couldn't have said it. Like, so to speak, the Rebbeinu Shalom is like Kivyachal, a person who carries a load on his face and he wants to throw it off. He wants to get rid of it as soon as possible. So too, he repays the Rishayim, he repays the Sainav, but he pays it quickly. He repays them quickly. He repays them right away. So he gives them their payment, and he patters, and therefore he repays it right away, and he patters them. He has to repay them, but he does it quickly and immediately. So what is the pshat? What does it mean, Lahavidai? Meaning, the Rebbeinu Shalom pays the Rasha in this world. He repays them quickly, so that they don't get Lahavida, that they're destroyed in Olam Haba, that they don't get the reward in Olam Haba. To destroy them, so to speak, in Olam Haba. Lo yachar l'soina, he does not delay paying to the enemies, those that hate him. Amar Avila l'soina hu lo yachar. So lo yachar l'soina, he doesn't delay paying for the soina. Aval yachar l'tzadikim gemorim, but for tzadikim gemorim, he does delay it. The reward for tzadikim gemorim is in Olam Haba, not in Olam Hazeh. V'hainu damar Shuban Levi, that's Shuban Levi says, my Dirshu, it says, Asher anochi mitzavcha hayom la'asaisam, that I'm commanding you today to do them, to keep and do the commandments. I'm commanding you today, hayom la'asaisam, today to do them. V'lo l'mocha la'asaisam. There's no asiyah. And also in the Olam Haba, there's no more Asiyah. The Asiyah is Olam Hazeh. Hayom la'asaisam v'lamocha l'kabel scharim. And it's Hayom la'asaisam. But the Kibbutz Schar, the reward, is in Olam Haba. Amar Rav Chagav Yitem Rav Shmuel ben Nachmani. My Dirshu, what is the possible meaning? Erech apayim, it's slow to anger. So it says it in the plural, Erech apayim. Erech afmi boile, it should say it in the singular. Ella, why does it say plural? Erech apayim l'tzadikim, Erech apayim l'rishayim. He's slow for the tzadikim. Apayim, it's two faces. To the face for the tzadikim, he's slow to show them the word, to show them the simcha. He delays it. He's patient in rewarding the tzadikim. Their reward is in Olam Haba. And Erech apayim l'rishayim, and he's slow. He's patient to show anger to the Rishayim. He's patient, he's slow to reward the tzaddikim. They don't get the reward in Olam Hazeh, they get it in Olam Haba, where the reward is much greater. He's also patient in punishing the Rishayim. Rishayim get reward in Olam Hazeh, and so that they don't get Olam Haba. So he punishes them, he delays the punishment, he's patient, he delays the punishment until the Yom Adin, until after Misa. Taisa says, but the Maisa in both respects is l'toiva. He's l'toiva for the tzaddik. The repayment is in Olam Haba. The reward is much greater. He's slow to punish the Rishayim, but that's also for their benefit, because they have more of an opportunity to be chayzer b'tshuva, to do tshuva. So he delays it to their destruction until Gehenna, until after Misa. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Beis Asayim. So coming back now to the Pasei Biroyas. So what is the area that these Pasei Biroyas, these corner posts, these all-shaped posts can encompass? Rabbi Yehuda says it's only Beis Asayim, 5,000 square amas. We have a shayla when we say Beis Asayim. What do we mean? Bor upasim koamar, or dilma bor v'loy pasim koamar. Is it the bore itself that can be a Beis Asayim, and that the limit is Beis Asayim? It's on the bore, on the watering hole. But in addition to that, you can have the side areas. You have to bring the para reish of aruba into drink. So in addition to that, you have 2 amas on each side. So you have bor beloy possum. Is it bor but possum? Is the total area is Beis Hasaim? It can't be more than Beis Hasaim 5,000 square amas. Does that include the bor and the area around the bor, the area around it and the posts? Or is it oidilma bor veloy possum kamar? Or is it the bor that can't be more than Beis Hasaim? But in addition to the area of the bor, you also have the area around the bor, 2 amas on each side, to bring in the para reish aruba to drink. Is it bor upasim kamar? When we say a limitation of Beis Hasaim, it means the total area, including the bor and the area around it. Or dimma bor veloy pasim kamar, it's only the bor. The bor has a limitation of Beis Hasaim, but you have a little bit extra. You have 2 amas on each side, in addition to that, to bring the para reish aruba to drink. What's the basis of the shaila? Now, underlying the shaila is that we know that in a karpaf, in a non-residential area, in an open area, there's a limitation. The chumim limited to the area, even if it's enclosed. Even if it's enclosed, it's limited to a Beis Hasaim. You can't carry in an area larger than Beis Hasaim, even if it's enclosed by mechitzas, because it looks like a large open area, and it doesn't look like it is a rishus hayochid. So in a non-residential area, you're limited to Beis Hasaim. In a residential area, you're not. Now, the question over here is, if we allow more than a Beis Hasaim, even the minimal amount for the surrounding areas of the bor, would therefore people say, therefore in a karpaf, you also are allowed more than a Beis Hasaim? So that's the basis of the machlekes over here. So Gemara speaks it out. Adam noiseneinu bebor. Do you say a person, well, he sees this large area, when he's judging the size of it and the heter of it, does he focus on the bor, exclusively on the size of the bor? And therefore, we're not concerned that if we allow this, he'll come to carry in an area larger than a Beis Hasaim and a karpaf, because all he's focused on the bor. The bor is Beis Hasaim, and a karpaf, you're allowed up to a Beis Hasaim. It won't allow you, in his mind, he doesn't think, therefore, it will allow him more than a Beis Hasaim and a karpaf. Or maybe we say, or maybe no, we say the person focus on the area enclosed by the mechitzas. Now, if we allow the surrounding area of the bor to be more than a Beis Hasaim, well, if he's focused on the area between the posts, and he sees that it's more than a Beis Hasaim, therefore he might say that in a karpaf you're allowed more than a Beis Hasaim, and we're concerned he might confuse it and say, well, you're allowed more than a Beis Hasaim in a karpaf. So Hashma, let's bring a proof from the Brisa. The Brisa says, "Kamei mikurovim." How close are the posts to the bor? Kedei reish aruba shel par. There has to be a minimum area around the bor so that the para can bring in the head and most of its body to drink, because otherwise we're concerned that it'll come to carry outside the enclosure. V'kamei meruchakim. How much further away from the water can it be, from the well? Afilu kur, afilu kuraim. It can be a huge area, even a kur, even a afilu kuraim. A kur is 30 saw, or kuraim 60 saw. Rav Yehuda Omer Beis Hasaim muter. Rav Yehuda says Beis Hasaim is muter, but Yasser and Beis Hasaim also, anything more than a Beis Hasaim is also. That's the shlit of Rav Yehuda. You're only allowed Beis Hasaim. Omer Rav Yehuda, the Chum says Rav Yehuda, why do you say that? Don't you agree that in the case of a deer, when the animals are grazing, or a corral, or a backyard, or a front yard, or front chotzer, even a large area, even 5 or 10 kurim is muter. Amar lahem, yes, I agree with you over there. But but they're enclosed by proper mechitzas, by full mechitzas. These are only posts. So over here we're machmer, and we limit it to an area of Beis Hasaim. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar bor beis asayim mutter. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says a bor is 2 sasayim by 2 sasayim, it's mutter. And they said you can't go beyond that, only an area that can encompass the Rosh Rushal par. Meaning you can't go more than that, more than a beis asayim. On the area around it, it can only be that to allow the cow to come in, the head and most of the body to drink. So apparently Rav Shimon ben Elazar says you're allowed that little bit extra, more than a beis asayim. So now the Gemara says as follows: Rav Shimon ben Elazar bar v'lei pasim. Now Rabbi Elazar says that the beis asayim is only for the whole, but you're allowed more than that. So right, we see from Rav Shimon ben Elazar that he's takamegel. He says that the limitation is that it's a bor, that's limit for the bor. But you're allowed an area around it. Doesn't that show you that, well, he's arguing with Rabbi Yehuda. Now Rabbi Yehuda must say that the beis asayim includes not only the bor, but the area around the bor as well. Doesn't that show you that Rabbi Yehuda, when he says beis asayim, he means including the area around the bor? Where it says v'loi? No, you don't have a raya. Rabbi Yehuda bar v'loi pasim kamar. Maybe I'll tell you that Rabbi Yehuda says also that it's bor v'loi pasim, that it's the bor, and the beis asayim is only the bor. It does not include the area around the bor. Well, if that's the case, what's the machlokes between them? Isn't he saying the same thing of Shem Elazar if that's the case? The Gemara says no. I'll tell you perhaps that what they're arguing about is something else entirely, completely different. That they both agree that when they say that it's the beis asayim limitation is on the bor, and the area around of it is extra, is over and above that. What is the machlokes? Perhaps whether it has to be square or not. Rav Shimon ben Elazar says his lotion is beis asayim, a beis asayim mutter, meaning it has to be square. If they're talking about this type of an area, it has to be square. Beis asayim, a beis asayim. And that's where Rabbi Yehuda argues. Rabbi Yehuda says it doesn't have to be square. It can be a rectangular. It doesn't have to be a square. So maybe that's the machlokes, but it's not dealing with this issue at all, whether the beis asayim includes the area around the bor or not. Rashi says that even if you say in Rabbi Yehuda that it does not have to be square, but it can't be longer and narrower than the Chatzar Mishkan. So it can't be more than 50 by 100. It doesn't have to be square, but it can't be longer than 50 by 100. He said that Rav Shimon Elazar says any open space that is tashmisha ladir is used for living of residential use, then kigoyin dir v'sayir muksa v'chalzer. Then we say afil beis chamishas kurim beis hasaras kurim. It can be much larger, even 5 or 10 kurim muter. V'chol dir shetashmisha lahavir. But if it's not for a residential purpose, it's for an open space. Could go in Burgan of Shabbasoras, like the hut that the watchmen use in the fields. Beis asayim muter, yosim beis asayim. Also, then you're limited to beis asayim. Zok the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, im hayaderach rishus harabim mafsek halsan yosel kenel etztadim. Rabbi Yehuda says that if you have the area between the where you have the pasei birois, and if there's a street passing by it, so you have the bor that's in the middle. If there's the road is passing through, so the people are walking through, so that negates the mechitzas, that splits it in two. We have to look at it then that instead of looking at it like there are mechitzas on each corner and on the side, let's look at it this way, perhaps. If the street is passing through, now, normally we'd say if you have the diyumdim, the corner posts, so we look at it like 4 mechitzas all around. But if the street that the Brahman walked through, that cuts it in half. So then you have mechitzas on these sides, but you don't have, this is separate from these sides. This side is separate from, so you can't extend the mechitzas right across because the road cuts it in two. So therefore you don't have a mechitza running around across because of the road. So Therefore, he says that's mevatel the mechitzas. The Chum say no. We don't say asir rabim mevatel mechitzas. Rabbi Yechon, Rabbi Lazar, Amrit Harvayu, Kohan, Haidecha, Kayach Shal Mechitzas. Over here, the Chacham showed you the Kayach Mechitzas, how strong it is that we consider these are Mechitzas, and even though the street is right through, people pass right through, it still retains its din, its nature as Mechitzas, and the Rambam are not Mevatel the Mechitzas. So the Gemara says, Kan Usir like. So it seems to imply, Kan Hoydiyachan, that Rav Yechon and Rabbi Lazar said, we see from here the Kayach L'Mechitzas, and Mashma that implies that they agree to, that Rav Yechon agrees that Lo Yasa Ram Avat L'Mechitzas. In fact, the Gemara of Amar Rabba Barachan Amar Rav Yechon and Yushalayim, Il Malay also saying in Oz Balayla, Yushalayim was surrounded by Mechitzas, by walls. It had at each end, it had gates. It had doors and gates, and people would pass through. So he says, if not for the fact that it was locked at night, then you would say you would be mechayim meshus rabim. Now, over here, you have the mechitzas. You just have doorways. You have doorways at each end, and if the doors would not be locked, we would say it's a reshus rabim. So don't you see from over here that asir rabim u'mevatel mechitzas, that the rabbim passing through the city would be mevatel the mechitzas, the fact that the traffic, it's only because they lock the doors at night. But otherwise we would say the rabbim come with mevatel mechitzas, and Tosfos mentions and points out, and that Rav Yochanan would be saying that asir rabim not only mevatel mechitzas, but even though there's a tzuras haPesach at the opening, even there would still be mevatel the tzuras haPesach, and that's at the opening, and we'd say that it nullifies mechitzas, and it's reshus rabim. Ella kan v'lo svirle. Must be that Rav Yechon is saying from here you see that the Chachamim hold lo yasir rabim mevatel mechitzas, but Rav Yechon himself holds that asir rabim mevatel mechitzas. Now we seem to have a steer both in Rabbi Yehuda and in the Rabban. The Thanya we learned in the Brayso, Yasra Kain Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Mishayel Shnei Bat Mishnei Tzide Reshus Rabim, Isalach Mikan, Velach Mikan, Akar Mikan, Akar Mikan, the Naisen Be'emsa. If a person there's two houses on the sides of the street passes between them. So he says, well, you can make a kaira running from one to the other, and that now encloses the area, because you have a kaira running from here and running from here, so that encloses the area, or a lechi, a post at each end, and now it's considered to be closed from four sides, 1, 2, and across and across. So he says that you can close it off that way, and then you can carry in the middle. So now, even though the street is walking through the middle, we still say that you can carry in the middle. It's considered enclosed, and you can carry in the middle, even though the rabbim are walking through. And we don't say asir rabim mevatel mechitzas. So, and Omer Loyin mevar reshus rabim, the Chum said to Rabbi Yehuda, no, you can't make an Erev in reshus rabim this way. The street passes through. You can't make an Erev lechi and kaira to enclose off reshus rabim. Kasha the Rabbi Yehuda, and Kasha the Rabbanan. So it seems to be a steer in both. So more says the Rabbi Yehuda like Kasha Hasam the ikashtei mechitzas mal yasa haka lekashtei mechitzas mal yasa. Yes, over there, Rabbi Yehuda says you can put the lechis in the kaira, even though the public walks through it. We don't say asir mevatel mechitzas, but you have the sides of the houses. So you have proper mechitzas. The houses, this is a wall. The side of the house is a wall. So therefore, you should maybe look at it this way. You have the sides of the houses on each side of the street. You have the walls over here. Yes, the street passes through, but you have two proper walls. Now you're putting lechis, and you're putting queers rather, and lechis on the open ends, but you have two sides which have solid walls which have mechitzas. There, he says, he agrees that lo yasir rabim mechitzas, but here, by the diumdim, you don't have any solid wall, you just have the corner posts on four ends, you have the corner posts. So therefore, it's not a steer. The Rabban Loy Kasha Ha'ika Shem Arba Mechitzas. Also, like a Shem Arba Mechitzas. It says that the Rabban is also not a stira, because true, you don't have 4 complete walls, but at least you have a shame of our mechitzas. The yumdim, the corner posts, halachically are considered mechitzas because we view the corner posts as the amma extending. It extends across. So over there you have 4 walls. You don't have 4 complete walls, but you have 4 walls. Over here, in the case of the houses, you have 2 solid walls, but then you have kairas and lechis. So you only have 2 walls. The other 2 are with lechis and kairas. Now, Rav Yehuda, the Shitasa, he holds shtei mechitzas are deraisa. So you have 2 solid walls. You have 2 mechitzas deraisa. So therefore, he says that you can be mesakin with a lech and kaira lo yasaram vatal mechitzas, because you have 2 solid walls, and with deraisa you only need 2 solid walls. But in the case of the diumdim, you don't have any solid walls. You just have posts. The Rabbanan hold that we don't say shtei mechitzas is deraisa. 2 mechitzas are not deraisa. Now, by diumdim, you don't have complete walls, but halachically you have walls. So, therefore, because we view the posts as extending, so therefore, the Rabbanan say, we don't say the case of diumim asaram vatal mechitzas, but in the case of the houses, you only have 2 walls, and 2 walls are not deraisa. You need 3 walls, or according to the Ram, 4 walls. So you can't be masakin it with lechis and kairos.